Feeling your way to the thoughts that promote wellness is much easier than trying to think yourself there. Make a commitment to yourself to feel good, and then guide discern the difference between the offering of beneficial thoughts and the disallowing of well-being thoughts. 99. Why have some been born with illnesses? Jerry, so, when you're speaking of the balance of thought, are you saying the balance of thought even from before we're born? In other words, would that be why someone could be born with a physical problem? Abraham, it is. But just as the balance of your thought now is equaling what you're living, the balance of thought that you held prior to your birth is also what equaled what you're living. But you must understand that there are those who've come forth deliberately wanting physical disability, because they wanted the benefit that they knew would come from it. They were wanting to add some balance to their perspective. Before you came into this physical body, you understood that from wherever you stand, you can make a new decision about what you want. And so, there was no concern about your starting place in your physical body, because you knew that if that condition inspired a desire for something different, the new desire was attainable. There are many people who have achieved tremendous success in many areas of life who are born into conditions that would be considered to be the extreme opposite of success. And those raw and ragged beginnings served them extremely well, because born out of that poverty, or dysfunction, was strong desire, which was the beginning of the asking that was necessary before success could begin to flow to them. All beings who come forth into a physical body have full understanding of the body they are coming into. And you may trust that if they came forth, and remain, it was their intention from non-physical to do so. And without exception, when where you're currently standing causes you to make another decision about what you now desire, you have the ability, if you focus your thought, to accomplish the essence of that creation. Most who are attracting less than wellness, are doing so by default. They may very well desire wellness, while the majority of their thoughts are upon subjects that do not support wellness. It's not a good idea to stand in your perspective and try to evaluate the appropriateness of what anyone else is living, because you will never be able to figure it out. But you always know where you stand relative to what you are wanting. And if you will pay attention to what you're thinking, and let your thoughts be guided by the feeling that comes forth from within you, you will find yourself guiding your thoughts more of the time in the direction of that which will ultimately please you. 100. Let's discuss the concept of incurable diseases. There is not a physical apparatus, no matter what the state of deterioration, that cannot achieve perfect health. But that which you believe has everything to do with what you allow in your experience. If you've been convinced that something is not curable, that it's fatal, and then you're told that you have it, usually your belief will be that you will not survive. And so, you will not. But your survival has nothing to do with the disease and everything to do with your thoughts. And so, if you say to yourself, that may be true for others, but it's not true for me, because I am the creator of my experience, and I choose recovery, not death at this time, you can recover. We know that these words are easily said by us and not so easily heard by those who do not believe in their power to create. But your experience always reflects the balance of your thoughts. Your experience is a clear indication of the thoughts that you think. When you change the thoughts you are thinking, your experience, or indicator, must change also. It is law. 101. Focus on fun to regain one's health. Jerry, Abraham, there was an author who'd contracted a disease that was considered to be incurable. But he survived it. And he said he was able to do so by watching a series of humorous television programs. I understand, he just watched those programs and laughed, and the disease went away. What would you say was behind his recovery? Abraham, his recovery was accomplished because he achieved vibrational alignment with well-being. There are two primary factors involved in his finding vibrational alignment. First, his desire for wellness was dramatically enhanced by his illness. And second, the programs he watched distracted him from the illness. The pleasure that he felt as he laughed at the humor of the program was his indication that his disallowance of well-being had ceased. Those are the two factors required in the creation of anything: want it and allow it. Usually once people have focused upon problems and such, enough that they've disallowed their well-being, and they're seriously ill, then they turn their undivided attention to the illness, thus perpetuating it more. Sometimes a doctor can enhance your belief in wellness, if he has a process or a remedy that he believes will help you. And in that case the desire is amplified because of the illness, and the belief is enhanced because of the proposed remedy. But in the case of the supposedly incurable disease or in the case of the supposedly curable disease, the two factors that brought about the healing were the same: desire and belief. Anyone who can come to expect well-being can achieve it under any conditions. The trick is to expect well-being, or, as the man in your example did, simply distract yourself from the lack of well-being. 102. Did ignoring the illness resolve the illness? Jerry, I've noticed that throughout my adult life, I've never been so sick I wasn't able to do the work I intended to do that day. In other words, I always felt my work was so important that I didn't consider not doing it. I noticed, however, that if I was beginning to feel less than good, like if I was in the beginning stages of cold or flu, once I got focused on what I needed to do in terms of my work, the symptoms went away. Is that because I was focused on something that I wanted? Abraham, because you had a strong intention to do your work, and because you enjoyed it when you did it, you had the advantage of a strong momentum toward your well-being. So, when it seemed that something was distracting from that well-being, because of some attention to something unwanted, you had only to focus upon your usual attention, and your alignment returned quickly. And the symptoms of misalignment faded quickly. Often you try to accomplish too much through action, and in doing so, you feel tired, or overwhelmed. And those feelings are your indicator that it's time to stop and refresh. But often you push forward in action, rather than taking the time to refresh and realign, and that's a very common reason for uncomfortable symptoms to begin to surface. Most people, when they feel a symptom of sickness, begin to give their attention to the symptom, and usually slide rapidly into more discomfort and misalignment. The key is to catch your misalignment early. In other words, whenever you feel negative emotion, that's your signal to reach for a different thought to improve your vibrational balance. But if you do not, your signal will get stronger, until eventually you may feel physical discomfort. But even then, as in the example you just stated, you can still refocus on something that you desire, taking your attention from whatever has you out of balance, and come into alignment, and the symptoms of sickness must then leave. There is no condition from which you cannot recover. But it is much easier, if you catch it in the early subtle stages. Sometimes being sick provides you an escape from something else that you do not want to do. And so, in your environment there is much allowing of sickness for the sake of not having to do something else. But when you begin playing that sort of game with self, you're opening the door to greater and greater and greater sickness. 103. What's the effect of vaccines on diseases? Jerry, Abraham, since we create our illnesses through thought, then why do vaccines seem to almost put an end to the spread of those particular kinds of diseases? Abraham, the illness amplifies your desire, and the vaccine amplifies your belief. Therefore, you've accomplished the delicate balance of creation. You want it, and you allow it, or believe it, and so it is. 104. What about medical doctors, faith healers and witch doctors? Jerry, people like witch doctors and faith healers and medical doctors, all of them have a reputation for healing some people and for losing some of their patients too. So what do you see the place for such people in thought or in life? Abraham, the important thing that all of those have in common is that they stimulate belief in their patients. The first part of the balance of creation has been accomplished, because the illness has enhanced the desire for wellness. And anything that brings about belief or expectation will give positive results. When medicine and science stop looking for cures and begin to look for vibrational causes, or imbalances, they will see a much higher rate of recovery. If a doctor does not believe that you can recover from your illness, your association with that doctor is extremely detrimental. And often well-meaning doctors will defend their doubt for your recovery by pointing out the odds against it, telling you that it's not likely that you will be an exception. The trouble with that logic, even though it's based on the facts or evidence that medicine and science have come to expect, is that it has nothing to do with you. There are only two factors that have anything to do with your recovery: your desire and your belief. And this negative diagnosis is hindering your belief. And so, if you have a strong desire for recovery, and doctors are giving you no hope, it is logical that you would turn to alternative approaches, where hope is not only allowed, but encouraged. For there is much evidence to show that people can recover from supposedly incurable diseases. 105. Your physician is a means to well-being. Do not condemn your modern medicine, for it has been created because of the thoughts, desires and beliefs of the members of your society. But we want you to know that you have the power to accomplish anything that you desire. But you cannot look outside of yourself for the validation to do so. Your validation will come from within you in the form of emotion. Seek your vibrational alignment first, and then follow through with inspired action. Let your medical community assist you in your recovery, but do not ask them to do the impossible. Don't ask them to give you a cure to compensate for your misaligned energy. Without asking, there can be no answering. And attention to a problem really isn't asking for a solution. So, it's not unusual that doctors would be examining the physical body, looking for problems, for which they might have a solution. But looking for problems is a powerful catalyst for attracting them. And so, often well-meaning doctors are instrumental in perpetuating more illness than they are able to find cures for. We're not suggesting that they are not wanting to help you, we're saying that their dominant intent, when they examine you, is to find some evidence of something wrong. And since that is their dominant intent, that is more of what they will attract than anything else. In time, after they've been involved in it for a period of time, they begin to believe in the fallibility of man. They begin to notice more of what is wrong than what is right, and that is the reason that so many of them begin to attract illness into their own experience. Jerry, is that the reason that so often physicians can't heal themselves? Abraham, that is the reason. It is not easy to be focused upon others' negatives, without experiencing the negative emotion within your own being. And illness exists because of the allowance of negativity. One who never experiences negativity will not be sick. 106. What can I do to help them? Jerry: so what's the best thing that I, as an individual, could do for other people that are having physical problems? Abraham: you never help others when you allow yourself to be a sounding board for their complaints. Seeing them as you know they want to be is the most valuable thing you can do for them. Sometimes that means removing yourself from their vicinity, because when you're near them, it's difficult not to notice their complaints. You might say to them, I've learned the power of my attention and thought. And sir, as I hear you speaking of what I know you don't want, I must tell you that I must remove myself, for I don't want to contribute to your miscreating. Try to distract them from their complaints. Try to help them focus upon some positive aspects. Do your best to imagine their recovery. You will know when you are of value to anyone when you are able to think about the person and feel good at the same time. When you love others without worry, you are an advantage to them. When you enjoy them, you help them. When you expect them to succeed, you help them. In other words, when you see them as your own inner being sees them, then and only then is your association with them to their advantage. 107. But what if they are in a coma? Jerry: is there anything we can do for a loved one who is in one of those sort of unconscious states? Abraham: you are communicating with those around you vibrationally even more than with your words. So, even though your loved one may show no signs of recognition, it does not mean that your communication is not being received on some level. You can even communicate with those who have made their physical transitions in what you call death. So, do not assume that a seeming unconscious state has barred your communication. The primary reason why people remain in a coma or unconscious state is that they're seeking refreshment from the lackful thoughts that have been hindering them. In other words, while they have withdrawn their conscious attention from the details of their normal life, they are in a state of vibrational communication with their own inner being. It's an opportunity for refreshment, and it's often a time of decision-making, where they're actually determining whether they'll find their alignment by returning to the non-physical or whether they'll awaken again back into their physical body. In many regards, it's not very different from being born into the physical body in the first place. Here is the best attitude for you to hold regarding such people: I want you to do what's important to you. I approve of whatever you decide. I love you unconditionally. If you stay, I will be ecstatic. And if you go, I will be ecstatic. Do what is best for you. That's the best you can do for them. Jerry: and sir, those people who are in a state like that for many years, they're actually doing what they want to do. Abraham: most of them, if it's that length of time, made the decision not to return long ago. And someone in the physical overrode their decision and kept them plugged into a machine. But their consciousness has long gone, and will not return to this body. 108. Could I inherit my grandmother's illness? Jerry: don't some people actually inherit physical problems? Abraham: what appears to be inherited tendencies is usually the LOA's response to the thoughts that you learned from your parents. However, the cells of your body are thinking mechanisms also, and your cells, like you, can learn vibration from those around them. However, when you identify a desire, and you find thoughts that feel good, which indicate that you're in vibrational alignment with your inner being or source, the cells of your body will quickly align to the vibration of well-being that your positive thought has established. The cells of your body cannot develop negative tendencies that lead to disease when you are in alignment with your source. Your cells can only get out of alignment when you are. Your body is an extension of your thought. Your contagious, or so-called inherited, negative symptoms are supported by your negative thought, and could not occur in the presence of chronically positive thoughts, no matter what diseases had been experienced by your parents. Jerry: so, if I hear my mother speak of her headaches, and I accept that, then I can start having headaches myself. Abraham: whether you heard it from your mother, or from another, your attention to something you do not want will in time bring the essence of it to you. The headache is a symptom of resistance to well-being, which occurs when you hold yourself in vibrational contradiction to the well-being of your inner being. For example, worrying about work or feeling angry at your government can cause physical symptoms. You do not have to focus upon a headache to have one. Jerry: Well then, if I hear my mother complain of headaches, and I consciously reject that, and say, well, that may be true for you, but that's not for me, does that in some way protect me? Abraham, it's always to your advantage to speak of what you want. But you cannot stay in alignment with who you really are and focus upon your mother's headache at the same time. Speaking of what you do want while looking at what you do not want does not put you in alignment with what you do want. Take your attention from the things you do not want to attract, and put them upon the things you do want to attract. Focus upon some aspect of your mother that causes you to feel good, or focus upon something other than your mother that causes you to feel good. 109. What is the media's role in epidemics? Jerry, now, I've been hearing in the media recently that there are free flu shots in town for those who want to go and get them. Will that news affect the spread of the flu virus in any way? Abraham, yes, it will be of great value to the spread of the flu virus. There is no greater source of negative influence in your environment today than your television. Of course, as in every part of your environment, there is wanted and unwanted. And you do have the ability to focus and therefore receive value from your television and media. But those sources do bring you a tremendously distorted, imbalanced point of view. They look all around your world for pockets of trouble, shining spotlights upon them and magnifying them, and enhancing the trouble with dramatic music, and then funneling them into your living rooms, giving you a tremendously distorted picture of the trouble versus the well-being of your planet. The constant barrage of medical commercials is a powerful source of negative influence. As they explain to you that 1 out of 5 people has this disease lurking, and you're probably the one, they influence you to give thought. And then they say, see your physician. And when you go to your physician, remember, the intent of the physician is to find something wrong. Now your negative expectation is born, or enhanced. And with enough of that influence, your body begins to manifest the evidence of those pervasive thoughts. Your medicine is more advanced today than ever before, and yet more of you are sick than ever before. Remember, to create anything, you have only to give thought to it and then expect it, and it is. They show you the statistics, they tell you the horror stories, they stimulate your thought, and as you're being stimulated by the thought in great detail, you have the emotion, the dread, or the fear, I don't want that. And one half of the equation is complete. Then they encourage you to go in for a checkup, or to come and get the free flu shot. Obviously we know it's an epidemic or we wouldn't be offering the free flu shots, and that completes the expectation, or the allowing, part. And now you're in the perfect position for the receiving of the flu, or the essence of whatever it is that they're talking about. You get what you think about, whether you want it or not. And so, it's of great value for you to begin practicing your own story about your well-being, so that when the television presents that frightening story, one that you do not want to live, you can hear their version and feel humor about it rather than fear. 110. Catch uncomfortable sensations while they're small. The first indication that you're disallowing your physical well-being comes to you in the form of negative emotion. You will not see a breakdown of your physical body at the first sign of negative emotion, but focusing upon subjects that cause a prolonged feeling of negative emotion will eventually cause disease. If you're unaware that the negative emotion indicates the vibrational disharmony that is hindering the level of well-being that you're asking for, you may be like most people, accepting a certain level of negative emotion and feeling no need to do something about it. Most people, even when they feel alarm at the level of negative emotion or stress they're feeling, do not know what to do about it, because they believe they're reacting to conditions or circumstances that are outside of their control. And so, since they can't control the unpleasant conditions, they feel powerless to change the way they feel. We want you to understand that your emotions come in response to your focus. And under all conditions you have the power to find thoughts that feel slightly better or slightly worse. And when you consistently choose slightly better, the lower will bring steady improvement to your experience. The key to achieving and maintaining a physical state of well-being is to notice the indicators of discord in the early stages. It's much easier to refocus your thoughts in the early subtle stages than after the lower has responded to chronic negative thoughts bringing bigger negative results. If you could make a decision to never allow negative emotion to linger within you, and at the same time acknowledge that it's your work alone to refocus your attention in order to feel better, rather than asking someone else to do something different or for some circumstance to change to make you feel better, you will not only be a very healthy person, but you will be a joyful person. Joy, appreciation, love and health are all synonymous. Resentment, jealousy, depression, anger and sickness are all synonymous. 111. Are arthritis and Alzheimer's disease somehow resolvable? Jerry, is it possible to recover from those kinds of illnesses at whatever age a person's at? Abraham, the conditions of your body truly are vibrational indicators of the balance of your thoughts. And so, when you change your thoughts, the indicators must change also. The only reason that some diseases seem stubborn and unchangeable is because your thoughts are often stubborn and unchanging. Most people learn their patterns of counterproductive thought often based on truths they've witnessed or learned from others. And as they hold stubbornly to those patterns of thought, which do not serve them, they then experience the results of those thoughts. And then an uncomfortable cycle occurs, where they think about unwanted things, valid, true unwanted things, and in doing so, by the lower they prevent wanted things from coming into their experience, and allow unwanted things to come instead, then they focus even more on those unwanted things, causing more unwanted things to come. You can accomplish change in every experience, but you have to begin to see your world differently. You have to tell the story the way you want it to be rather than like it is. When you choose the direction of your thoughts and conversations by the way they feel as you think them or speak them, then you begin to deliberately offer vibrations. You are vibrational beings, whether you know it or not. And the lower is eternally responding to the vibrations you are offering. Jerry, can chemicals, such as alcohol, nicotine or cocaine, negatively affect our body? Abraham, your physical wellness is affected much more by your vibrational balance than it is by the things that you put into your body. And even more significant to your question is the fact that from your place of vibrational alignment you would not feel inclined toward any substance that would detract from that balance. Almost without exception, the seeking of those substances comes from a place of less alignment. In fact, the impulse to participate in those substances comes from a desire to fill the void that is present because of the vibrational imbalance. 112. Are exercise and nutrition a health factor? Jerry, does better nutrition or more exercise add to our health? Abraham, you may have noticed that there are those who are very deliberate about food and exercise, whose physical well-being is obvious. And there are those who seem to be offering tremendous effort regarding food and exercise, who struggle for years to gain benefit, and still have no success in maintaining their physical well-being. What you do in terms of action is far less important than the thoughts you think, the way you feel, your vibrational balance, or the story you tell. When you take the time to find vibrational balance, the physical effort you apply will yield you wonderful results. But if you do not tend to your vibrational balance first, there's not enough action in the world to compensate for that misaligned energy. From your place of alignment you will feel inspired to the beneficial behavior, just as from your place of misalignment you are inspired to detrimental behavior. The reason that so many are confused about the correct behavior for healthy living is because they're only factoring in behavior, and they're leaving out the part of the equation that's most responsible for every outcome: the way you think, the emotions you feel and the story you tell. 113. What if a healthy person feels mostly tired? Jerry, if a person seems to be in good health, but feels tired or listless most of the time, what would you suggest as a solution for that? Abraham, people often refer to that state of being tired, or listless, as a state of low energy, and that's really a good way of saying it. While you cannot cut yourself off from your energy source, when you offer thoughts that contradict that source, your resulting feeling is one of resistance, or low energy. The way you feel is always about the degree to which you are in alignment or out of alignment with your source. No exceptions. As you tell the story of what you want, which is the story the source within you is always telling, you feel happy and energized. The feeling of low energy is always a result of telling a different story than the expanded source energy part of you is telling. When you tell a story that focuses upon the positive aspects of your life, you feel energized. When you tell a story that focuses upon the negative aspects, you feel enervated. When you focus upon the absence of something that you desire in your present experience, you feel negative emotion. When you imagine an improved condition, you feel positive emotion. The way you feel is always about the relationship between the object of your attention and your true desire. Giving thought to what is wanted will give you the invigoration that you seek. 114. What is the chief cause of illness? Illness is caused by giving thought to unwanted topics, feeling negative emotion but ignoring it, and continuing to focus upon unwanted such that negative emotion is getting greater, but still ignoring it and maintaining attention upon unwanted, until by the lower still more negative thoughts and experiences are attracted. Illness exists when you disregard the early subtle signs of misalignment that come in the form of emotion. If you feel negative emotion and you do not change the thought to relieve the discomfort of the negative emotion, it always gets bigger, until eventually the negative emotion becomes physical sensation, then physical deterioration. However, the illness is only an indication of your vibration. And whenever you change your vibration, the indicator will change to match the new vibration. Illness is nothing more than a physical indicator of energy out of balance. Many people who are experiencing illness disagree with our explanation of the cause of their illness being that the lower is responding to their thoughts, as they protest that they have never thought about that particular illness. But illness does not occur because you're thinking about that illness, or about any illness. Illness is an exaggerated indicator of negative thoughts, that began as a subtle indicator of negative emotion and grew larger as the negative thoughts persisted. Negative thought is resistance, no matter the subject of the negative thought. That is the reason that new diseases continue to come about. And until the actual cause of the disease is addressed, there will never be a final cure. You have the potential for every illness in your body right now, and you have the potential for a perfect state of health in your body right now. And you will solicit one or the other, or a mixture, depending upon your balance of thought. Jerry, so, from your perspective, there is no physical cause for illness or disease, it's all about thought. Abraham, we understand your urge to give credence to action or behavior in attempting to explain causes. As you explain where your water comes from, you would be accurate to point to the faucet as the source of water coming into your kitchen sink, but there is much more to the story of where the water comes from than only the faucet. And in like manner, there is much more to the story about the source of wellness or of illness. Your ease or dis-ease are symptoms of the balance of your thought. And that balance will manifest through the path of least resistance as surely as water flows downhill. 115. An example of my old story about my physical well-being. Let us give you an example of an old story about your physical well-being. I am noticing symptoms in my body that worry me. As I get older, I feel less strong, less stable, less healthy, less secure. I worry about where I'm headed health-wise. I've tried to take care of myself, but I don't see that it has helped that much. I guess it's just normal to feel worse as time goes on. I saw that with my parents, so I'm really worried about my health. 116. An example of my new story about my physical well-being. Here's an example of your new story about your physical well-being. My body responds to my thoughts about it, and to my thoughts about everything I think about. The better my thoughts feel when I think them, the more I allow my personal well-being. I like knowing that there is an absolute correlation between how I feel and what my chronic thoughts have been, and how those thoughts felt as I thought them. I like knowing that those feelings are meant to help me choose better feeling thoughts, which produce better feeling vibrations, which will produce a better feeling body. My body is so responsive to my thoughts, and that is such a good thing to know. I'm getting rather good at choosing my thoughts. No matter what condition I find myself in, I have the power to change it. My state of physical health is simply an indication of the state of my chronic thoughts. I have the control of both. A physical body is an amazing thing, in the way it began as a glob of fetal cells to become this full-blown human body. I'm impressed with the stability of the human body, and the intelligence of the cells that make up the human body, as I notice how my body accomplishes so many important functions without my conscious involvement. I like that it's not my conscious responsibility to move the blood through my veins, or the air through my lungs. I like that my body knows how to do that, and does it so well. The human body in general is quite an amazing thing. An intelligent, flexible, durable, resilient, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching thing. My body serves me very well. I love my exploration of life through my physical body. I enjoy my stamina and flexibility. I like living life in my body. I'm so pleased with my eyes that look out into this world, seeing near and far from where I stand, distinguishing shapes and colors with such vivid perception of depths and distances. I so enjoy my body's ability to hear and smell and taste and feel. I love the tactile sensual content of this planet and my life in this wonderful body. I feel appreciation and fascination for my body's self-patching ability as I watch wounds cover over with new skin, and as I discover new resiliency when traumas to my body occur. I'm so aware of my body's flexibility, my fingers' dexterity, and the immediate response that my muscles show to any task I attempt. I like understanding that my body knows how to be well and is always moving toward wellness, and that as I do not get in the way of that, with negative thought, wellness must prevail. I like understanding the value of my emotions. And I understand that I have the ability to achieve and maintain physical well-being because I have the ability to find and maintain happy thoughts. On any day in this world, even when some things in my body may not be at their best, I'm ever aware that far more things are functioning as they should, and that the aspects of well-being of my body are dominant. And, most of all, I love my body's quick response to my attention and intentions. I love understanding my mind-body-spirit connections and the powerful productive qualities of my deliberate alignment. I love living life in my body. I feel such appreciation for this experience. I feel good. There is no right or wrong way to tell your improved story. It can be about your past, your present or future experiences. The only criterion that is important is that you be conscious of your intent to tell a better feeling improved version of your story. Telling many good feeling short stories throughout your day will change your point of attraction. Just remember, the story you tell is the basis of your life. So tell it the way you want it to be. Part 4. Perspectives of health, weight, and mind. 118. I want to enjoy a healthy body. Bringing your physical body into alignment is a tremendously valuable thing to do for 2 reasons. 1. There is no subject that people think about more than their own body. And that's logical, since you take it with you everywhere you go. 2. Since every perspective or thought that you have flows through your lens of your physical body, your attitude on virtually every subject is influenced by the way you feel about your physical body. Because science and medicine have been slow to acknowledge the connection between mind and body, between thoughts and outcomes, between attitudes and resets, most people are reeling in a plethora of contradictory guidance relative to their bodies. Whenever the basis of an understanding is flawed, no amount of patching it with methods or potions or remedies can bring consistently provable results. And because the alignment of energies for each individual varies because of such a variety of factors in belief, desires, expectations, and early and current influences, it's little wonder that remedies that work every time are non-existent. And it's no wonder that most are truly confused about their physical bodies. When you attempt to gather and process information about what's happening with other people's bodies, instead of using your own emotional guidance system to understand your current alignment or misalignment of energy, it's tantamount to using a roadmap from a different country to plan your route in your own country. That information simply has no bearing on you and where you are right now. You've been given so much information that is contradictory to that which we know to be and to the laws of the universe, that we're extremely happy to talk to you about you and your body relative to the greater picture. We want to assist you in finding a clear understanding of how to be a healthy being, who is physically fit, who looks as you want to look, whole in terms of mind and spirit and body. When you use your mind to deliberately focus your thoughts to align with the thoughts of your inner being, or spirit, your physical body will be the manifestational evidence of that alignment. 119. I want to balance my desires and experiences. It is not possible to bring your physical body to a state of perfect health by only thinking about the physical aspects of your being, and then offering action regarding your physical body. Without an understanding of the connection between the physical you and the non-physical vibrational inner you, there can be no consistent understanding or control. In other words, while it may feel to you that the path to a good-feeling, good-looking body will be a result of your behavior, in terms of food intake and activity, it is really much more about your vibrational alignment between the physical and non-physical aspects of your being. Once you accept the totality of your being and you make that vibrational alignment your top priority, you are well on your way to achieving and maintaining your desired physical body. But if you use conditions of others, experiences of others and opinions of others as your gauge for wellness, you will not be able to control the condition of your own physical body. In other words, as you strive for a physical standard, based on comparison with the experiences of others, rather than striving for your own personal alignment between you and you will never discover the key to control over your own body.